How are
Welcome,
you?
Bev.
Thank you. So lovely to be with you again. How are you, Parul?
I'm very well, thank you. And lovely to have you, Bev,
Thank
because
you.
we have waited for a while for this conversation. And I'm really intrigued and fascinated by the specific topic that we have chosen for today, which is how to love even when it's difficult to like somebody. And I'm really looking forward to learning from you. We will get into the topic that we have chosen for today, but let's start with understanding a little bit about who Bev is. So tell us, what is your story?
Okay, so as I said, so lovely to be here. So I'm talking to you from Israel, a very hot Israel. As some of you will pick up, that's not my accent. My accent is originally from South Africa, but I have lived here longer than I lived there. I always saw Israel as my home. And I have a family, grandchildren, grandchildren. And my story in terms of my coaching journey, I have a background in teaching and psychology. And I really wanted to know what would move people forward in their lives. And what I discovered through the more coaching genre that I took on is that it's really about relationships. Our whole lives are about relationships. I would say all our joy and all our challenges are set in relationship. And what I would say the first and most intimate relationship is the relationship with ourselves. And how we see ourselves and how we judge ourselves is how we judge others and interact with others. And that's very much based on our early attachment, how we show up as adults, based on what we heard when we were children about ourselves, because that's how we learn about ourselves, right? Through interaction with the world. You and I, a relationship isn't just something out there. It's a live streaming right now, minute to minute, data to data. We're picking up each other. And that's what a relationship is. It's something that's alive, it lives, and it needs minute-to-minute updates.
Oh, I love how you explain that. A relationship is something which is live, it lives, and it gets updated. So it's not a static thing, it's a dynamic thing.
Yes, we sometimes think of it, I'm in a relationship with my husband. But no, it's something that gets updated as a live stream, just like you are and I are streaming live now. It's constantly updated. Me feeling you, feeling me. That's the dance we're in.
I love that. Yeah, it's a constant dance, and we can do that dance with other people. We can do that with ourselves as well.
Of course, that's what we do. That's what we do. So when I say I work as a relationship coach, it's not just about intimate relationships. It's about relationships with colleagues, siblings, parents, all the relationships we have. Some of them we find more challenging, and those are the ones that I call our gifts for us. We can see what's showing up for us here, because it's always all about us. And then the others that flow, that I feel comfortable, I'm settled here, I belong, and that flows.
Beautiful, beautiful. I really like what you said there, that it's always about us, how we experience a relationship is something going within us. So tell us a bit more about that.
Sure. So in essence, other people come to reflect what's going on for us. So anytime I'm triggered, let's just go back a step. When I'm triggered, I sometimes relate to the world in a reactive way. That's my younger place, reacting. So sometimes you might see two adults arguing, but they're both 5-year-olds. So they don't have the tools yet to resolve the conflict. When I respond to the world, I'm informed by emotion, and then I'm responsive. That's the mature person responding. So now people come, they trigger us sometimes, right? That triggering is something that's familiar to us from a long, long time ago, from our early attachment. And that triggering has come to tell us something about us. An example I can give you is just something that happened to me 2 days ago. I was at the gym and I was standing in a particular spot, and somebody came up to me, "Please, won't you move? I really like this spot under the air conditioning." And I don't really care why I stand in the gym room, but I didn't want to move. something in her triggered that you're not going to tell me where to stand. I'm already standing here. Other people might have walked away, right? And what she said to me, she said, she got upset and I did move away. And that was fine. And I was able to let it go. But I did revisit my interaction with her in the evening. I thought to myself, what was my part? Why was I triggered? Why couldn't I just move away? Because it made no difference to me. You know, so it's about what was she trying to teach me about me? I saw her as kind of like a bully. But somebody else might have thought nothing of it. So it's to do with my personal biography. I don't know what that is exactly in this case. I don't know why my buttons were pushed, but I moved away and I felt fine with that decision.
Yeah.
But I felt triggered at the time, you know.
So what we are saying here is, yes, it does. It makes so much sense, Bev. Thank you for explaining that. So what we are saying here is our experience of the world and other people is dependent on us, which means that if we get triggered or if we don't like something in the world around us, in our relationships, we've got to look within and do some work on ourselves.
Right. So that is such a beautiful insight that you've just brought, because we all have our own specific perspective. I have these glasses, you have those. So my glasses will be white, South African, Israeli, mother, grandmother. Yours will be a totally different experience, Indian, English, whatever, coach, many others. So if I want to understand your world better, I need to be curious. Tell me more. Because I've never been to England. Oh, I've been to England very briefly. Tell me more about your life there. I don't know what it's like to live in England, right? I can either do one of two things. I can see, how does your life measure up to mine? Because mine is the golden standard. Or I can understand that my view is a narrow one. I can only have certain perspectives, right? I don't know what it's like to be a man. But I can be curious. Tell me more about your experience. And then I can broaden and expand my worldview.
Yeah. Curiosity. Yeah, that's so important. That's so beautiful. And the analogy that you use of classes, that is so powerful.
Right. And they're almost kind of sewn into us, that perspective.
Yes. And when we change our glasses, when we put on a different pair, well, we can look at the world with a fresh pair of eyes.
Exactly. Rather than judging it and seeing ours as the golden mean and yours needs to adjust to mine. It can't. And that's where we can, if we talk about people who trigger us, if we can try and have that empathic perspective, but tell me what's going on for you. You know, why are you unhappy today? That genuine curiosity that comes without judgment is so beautiful. It expands and it connects us, because all our hurt and all our wounding comes in the relational space, and all our healing comes in the relational space. That's why going to a coach like you, when you're struggling with something in your head, it's just going to go round and round and round. And you can read a self-help book, but it won't do the magic than talking to someone like you who's going to hold that space and let you feel safe, so that you can emerge and become the person you're supposed to be.
Yeah. No. Oh, there was so much goodness in what you said. You talked about genuine connection, curiosity, no judgment. Oh my God. We have all got to do that.
And it's constant work.
It's
the
constant
judgment
work.
And I was just talking to someone before this call. I will judge you when I'm very judgmental of myself.
Okay, can you say that again?
I'm going to, because it's powerful, I know.
Yeah, it is so powerful. Please say it again, and please explain it to us in as much detail as you want.
Okay, so when we find ourselves being irritated and judgmental, you didn't do that class well enough, you didn't whatever, do something well enough, I would rather have liked, we need to take pause and say, hang on, am I always judging myself? And the answer is very much yes. So with this person, for instance, she said to me, I know I'm very critical of myself, but how do I stop that? So what I offered her was, tonight, before she goes to sleep, take 5 minutes and think of as many things, maybe 10 things that you did that were good for yourself. I said, you found a parking nearby, right? You were a little bit anxious, but well done. I came by car and I found a parking. I had a coffee, whatever. It doesn't matter how big or how small, but notice the things you did for yourself and no one else needs to know them. I'm so proud that I made that phone call today. It might be a nothing for somebody else to make that phone call. I'm so proud that I showed up for this conversation. It doesn't matter what it is, so long as we can find where can we love ourselves and see what good did I do in this world today? Who did I do an act of kindness for? Generosity. Who did I take pause with and give? And that makes me feel good.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Well, if you give me your permission, I would like to do it with my clients. Make the suggestion to them, invest in a beautiful journal and do this exercise every night. Write 3 things that tell you how amazing you are. Something on those lines, depending on what we are discussing.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter what they are. I made dinner for my family, or even if you do it every night, just recognize. And still, my husband and I have what we call a gratitude practice, where we do 3 things of gratitude before we say goodnight. And they can be the same thing over and over again. I came home safely from work. Yes, it's not to be taken for granted.
Yeah, that's so important. I'm actually
yourself up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm thinking of that moment when we would actually finish that journal and we would look back and see all this goodness in our hands.
Exactly. And see all that goodness that we have. And the more compassionate we can be to ourselves. And people are always saying, but how do I do that? And I find this works like magic, because then we can just take that pause and, she didn't speak so well. But just stop before it comes out your mouth. But what did she do well? What can I speak into well? This lady's a mother. I said, you don't have, she said, I'm very critical of like the cake burnt. I said, you don't have to tell her the cake burnt. She knows that, right? You don't have to tell her what's obvious.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I wanted to offer, 2 things, is sometimes to take pause in the day, to savor, just to notice what's around you that's beautiful. I said, well, I'm so fortunate to be able to see that beautiful tree. Just to spend a few more seconds on it, because that brings you back into the present. So often I hear people, I want to be there, or I want to be back there. And they're so unhappy with where they are right now, where you're supposed to be right now. You're perfect.
Yeah. What you're saying is speaking to me. I'm sitting and listening to you and really appreciating to have the opportunity to imbibe this wisdom from you.
And the last thing that I'll offer in this is what I do sometimes with clients at the end of a session is, ask, put one right hand on your left shoulder and your left hand on your right shoulder. Give yourself a good hug. And then switch arms. And then give your evil, horrible, judgmental self a good hug and say, you're welcome too.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Yeah, we've got to embrace both parts of ourselves.
All parts.
All parts. Yeah.
That's the expansion. That's the feeling. If we block out one part, we block out everything. We block out sadness and anger and jealousy. We block out the love and the passion too. Because
they reside in the same place.
Exactly. And that's what makes us human. Yes, we get angry sometimes and yet we're judgmental sometimes. That's okay. Be forgiving, because we all do that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Bev, so tell us, how can we choose to love even when it's difficult to like?
We don't have to love everyone. And it's an interesting question. The choice to love if we don't like.
Mm.
I'm trying to think of an example when we would want to make ourselves love if we don't like. I would first look inward. What is it that I don't love about myself? I always look inward first. Can I like myself? Are there parts of me that I can like? And then it's easier to look outward and say, oh, I love this part of you. I do. True love is precision. I love you exactly where you are now. I don't love your evolved, more conscious self. When you are more conscious, Parul, we will have a conversation about love, because then I will really love you. No, I love you where you are right now. That's what true love is. It's precision. And very often couples are waiting for the other one to evolve. If he would just become a little bit more conscious, he'd be perfect, right?
If you would just load the dishwasher, if you would just put the
Exactly.
laundry away, if you would just load the washing machine, you'll be perfect and I would love you.
Exactly. If you could just be like so-and-so. But Terry Real says, and I love this quote, we can't always get the partner we wish for, but we can always get the self that we want. Because once you are more compassionate, you will see your environment changing and the dances that you're in will shift.
Mm. Yeah. I love that. Mm. There's a different version of this quote that I like.
Yes,
I don't know whether it's a quote or whether I read it somewhere, but I'm paraphrasing now. And it is on lines of, you can't get the partner you like. You can't always get the partner you like, but you can always become that partner.
Oh, beautiful. Absolutely. I hear it so often, as you say, if you would only. Then I say, and how often do you do that, for your partner? And you have that pause and then you can see the wheels turning. Oh, yeah, I never do that, right? I'm just critical. And sometimes through the criticism, we don't allow space for the other to step in.
Yeah.
This woman was saying to me today, she said, if he could only be there with me through this time. And I said, well, does he know? He might be bringing you flowers when really you want chocolate. He doesn't know how. Can you speak? He's not a mind reader.
No.
We sometimes confuse that. If you loved me, you'd know what I want.
Yeah.
But it doesn't minimize it if I have to tell you, because you'll be happy to do it for me.
Yeah.
And you want to do what it is that I want. So, but I need to speak that.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a kind way.
In a kind way, yeah. And just giving the other person permission to not having to know everything about us, I think that makes everything easy.
Right. That's beautiful. Then they can remain curious. Habits are fine. They're fabulous. We work on automatic when we drive. We get up in the morning. We don't have to remember how to walk or what to do in the car, right?
Yeah.
But when it's with your partner and your friendships, then you're not curious anymore. I don't need you to finish your sentence because I know what you're going to say. Then I might as well have a relationship with myself, right? But if I can remain curious, then that's what keeps the relationship exciting and fresh and alive.
Yeah. It's funny how we cut slack to people who we know in, say, a social context, but we don't cut that slack to our loved ones and we take them for granted.
Exactly. We have a higher standard for them because they come sometimes as parents to us. We want them to collide with us and be gods. They're going to heal us. But what happens? We collide with their weaknesses and our weaknesses. And the rest of the relationship is managing all those challenges that come up. That's the excitement. We think we want to marry ourselves. And when they turn out not to be us, it can be a disappointment. But really, their weaknesses, or what we think of their weaknesses, are often what we need to learn. It's almost like someone was telling me, I love this, about a relationship is like a diamond. In order to be polished, needs to be polished with another diamond. And it makes the most awful sound. Like, this awful screech. And then you have the beautiful product. And that's what an intimate relationship is. It's that until you have that beautiful final product.
Oh, I love that. And knowing that it is okay to have that takes the stress away.
Yes, and if you just notice, why am I being triggered now? This whole conversation is for us and for others to hopefully bring these things up to awareness. That's the first step. Like, oh, I'm being triggered now. There's something about me that's going on here now. This is not about him. This is about me. So what is it? What is that message?
Yeah.
So this whole conversation is to bring that up. I feel really triggered now.
And taking 100% responsibility of those feelings.
Absolutely. I just, my husband and I booked a place to go away, and I said to him, let's go to this really trendy place. And he said, sure, wherever you want, that's fine. We'll just go it's not far down the road, half an hour down the road, whatever. And as we booked it, and I said to him, are you sure you're not going to be anxious? It's really trendy. And as we booked it, I knew I'd made a mistake and I was unhappy. And he said, you know what, wherever you want to go, that's fine. And I cancelled and booked somewhere else. And I said to him, thank you for letting me put my anxiety about the place onto you. Because that's in essence what had happened.
Yeah.
I was really unhappy about the area.
Yeah.
It's just having that awareness come up and not being judgmental of it. But I had to call him anxious when I was really talking about myself.
Yeah. So are we saying that all judgment really starts with self-judgment?
They're voices and words that they didn't just come out from the air, that we've heard in our early years. You should, when you hear people using the word should, as I think it's David Byrne says, the shouldy life. You should. Then I'm not really, as Byron Katie would say, I'm not in my business, I'm in yours. I know what you should be doing in your life, but I'm not really here looking at what I should be doing for myself. Anybody
so
says
true.
to you, you should, you must, I really know better about your life. That's a sign.
Yeah. And immediately it becomes an unequal relationship, because if I'm telling you what you should be doing, then I know better than you.
Right. And that's a beautiful distinction that you made now, because in an intimate relationship, you want it like this. You don't want one upmanship and one down.
Yeah.
In a relationship where I come to you as an expert in taking my life and putting it to a story that I can bring in an entertaining way to other people and use to my advantage, then I'm saying to you, can you help me with this? I don't know how to do this, and that's okay. Does that make sense? You'll become the expert.
It does. I
think you've frozen. Have we both frozen?
Oh, yes, but I can still hear you. Oh, you're back. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense that in an intimate relationship, we want to be equals.
Oh, I think you froze.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, you're back. Pardon?
Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, so I was saying what you're saying makes a lot of sense, that in an intimate relationship, we want to be equals. And that's really, really important to have that healthy relationship. But if we are seeking help, then it is okay to not be at the same level.
Exactly. Like you have an expertise that I don't have. That is my strength to be able to ask you. It's not a weakness that I don't have that. I can't have every strength in the world.
Yeah.
So to recognize those different, but still within us, even if you're more expert in that, there still can be that. It doesn't have to be you're so stupid because you don't know how to write your own story.
Yeah.
So it's both and. But to notice that, even in an intimate relationship, there's some things that one person in the couplehood does better than the other. you know,
Yeah.
just to notice it. It doesn't have to be a judgment always.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. It doesn't have to be judgmental.
Exactly.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be, if you look at Terry Wheel has this grandiosity and shame spectrum.
Yeah.
They're the same energy. Either I'm looking down at you or I'm looking down at myself. Shame is when I look inwardly at myself and say, you're a loser. And grandiosity is when I look at you and say, you're a loser.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's a beautiful spectrum that he has intersected by boundaries. Boundary and boundaryless, completely walled off and completely open. And it creates, if you think of it like this, 4 quadrants of personality. But
yeah,
I'm just saying we won't go into that now and how that shows up for us, where we are in the quadrant. And in the center is, you know, self-esteem and good health, where we can be bordered and engaging.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, grandiosity and shame are different, are 2 ends of the same continuum.
Exactly. Exactly. Very much so.
Bev, let's go a little deeper into this whole love versus like thing. What of those stories that live through us, stories that we carry generation after generation, or stories that we carry because of the culture we come from, the ethnicity we are from? What about those? How do we make sure that we don't get caught up and still can make that choice?
What a powerful, powerful question and insight, Parol. And thank you for that question. So we're definitely born into a context. We're not just ourselves. We're born into a personal biographical context, parents, grandparents, etc. And then we're born into a cultural context. So for me, it could be South African, it could be the trauma of apartheid. For an American, it could be the trauma of slavery, Israel, Holocaust, Palestine. There are many, 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 many traumas in the world that are unhealed, and they're collective. And those are often passed down to us. AA's got a great saying, hurt people hurt people. So if I had grandparents, let's say, who were in the Holocaust, then anytime they see a soldier, let's say in the street, they might squeeze my hand a little bit tighter. So it's subtle. It's not even with words. It's subtle.
Yeah.
It's something is, and I might carry that on to my children. So sometimes we want to say, stop, let's have a look at this. Let's integrate it. And it's not that it's all bad. Some of it's beautiful, you know, and we want to take those intergenerational messages, legacies with us. We get such a tremendous amount. I'm sure you and I could have this fascinating conversation. What is the resilience that has been passed down to us? What resilience do you have in your family and in your culture? How does it show up for me? Resilience in my culture, in my family, my personal biography, and in my collective. And then what are the things I want to say, stop? I don't want to believe that anymore. I was brought up believing X, Y, and Z. It doesn't work for me anymore. It's not what I want to believe right now. You know, in fact, I was sitting with a client today who was just saying that she's watching her daughter relive her life, the client's life, and it's devastating her. You know, and she said, what the things I didn't do to improve my life, I so want her to do.
Yeah.
But you can't. It's her daughter's journey. What she can do, she can say, and what she is doing by coming to see someone, she's saying, let's stop and look at this. I can only look at my own hurt and my own pain. Yeah. And then pass that on to my daughter and see what she wants to take.
Yeah. So there are a few things that I picked up from what you just said. One is that the power of that choice, wherein we say, stop, this is not what I want to continue believing in. This is a different context. I am a different person. It didn't happen to me, whatever that thing is for you. So that's one aspect of it, making that choice. The second one is recognizing that not everything is bad. Some of it is beautiful.
Exactly. And I want to keep that and pass that on.
Yeah.
You know.
And the third thing is to heal ourselves if we want to change some of those stories.
Exactly. And that comes, again, as I say, in the relational space. Sometimes as collectives, we'll sit together, global warming, and we'll explore those things together. When we don't see ourselves as separate, this isn't my issue, global warming, right? We don't see ourselves separate from the earth. We are part of the earth. You know, we're not separate from the trees, and we're part of it. So again, to take the good and sift out what works for us. And, you know, my parents were born into a different generation. I need to recognize that as well. So they didn't speak about death, let's say. Do I want to continue that with my children? I need to make those decisions, but I can only make those decisions once it comes up to my awareness.
Yeah.
What am I doing that's repeating something that didn't work so well there that I want to stop? But very often we don't have it in our awareness. We don't even know that we're repeating it, right?
Yeah.
And you hear this, you hear people get into relationships that are abusive again and again, but so did their parents.
Yeah.
You know? Because we aren't often taught to cherish relationships.
Why is that?
I've wondered about that, and I'm wondering if there's something about a sense of, well, you know, this is just my thoughts, and I'd be happy to hear if anybody else comments. There's a sense of urgency in our lives. I need to achieve, we have to be very performance-based. And that might mean that I have to step on you. I don't know if you've noticed. I've just found this really funny, but there's a sadness in me as well. I don't know if you've noticed on WhatsApp, you can now speed up somebody's message. Oh, you have to try it. It's so hysterical. It's like a chipmunk, right? Like, why? Why do we want to speed up even more? You know, we need to slow down in order to create space. If you think of it, space is like the white page. And then you have to have the white page in order to see the black letters. But so often we're just busy in our heads, thinking, don't create the space for the confidence and the creativity to emerge. And that's what I say about in our early attachment, about that sense of settling and resting. I belong here. Because then I can spend energy on my emerging, which is also a natural drive for us. We all want to become. But we need to be rested in the belonging. But very often we don't feel a sense of I belong here.
And could that be because a lot of us are either stuck in the past or we are focused on the future? And going back to what you were saying right in the beginning of this conversation, we are not here in the present.
That's very often because, and that dissonance, I want to be there. I want to be back there. So I'm never settled. I'm looking towards something that might not exist. This is my path. This is where I'm supposed to be, right here, right now. If I can just be with you, it's beautiful. I'm not thinking, do I need to go shopping? Do I need to? No, I'm just here with you now.
Yeah.
And then I'm not being pulled. I've set aside this time. Let me be here if I can. And that takes sometimes mindfulness, which is just say to yourself, I've set aside this time or whatever it is, I'm here. Let me notice what's here. I see a tree, I see you. I'm here. And you'll know if I'm not.
I would know, that's true,
You feel when there's somebody just doesn't get you, they're just not with you. We have it's not about the words, it's about the feeling we give. I always say people don't go to therapists and coaches because of all the letters they have behind their name. They go because of the feeling, the sense of safety. I rest here, and therefore then I can emerge and become who I'm supposed to become. It's a safe space.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Bev, tell us, how can people experience some of this goodness with you? Do you have some programs coming up? What's going on in the world for you?
Okay, so they're welcome to go onto my website and there's a free video download, a 3-part video download speaking about belonging and becoming.
Yeah.
And then there are lots of blogs, and they can fiddle around there and enjoy that. Oh, did you hear that? No. Oh, you did? I thought, wow, someone played some loud music around us. And then they can reach out to me through Facebook. They can reach out through the website as well if they want a conversation. What's happening at the moment? At the moment, I'm very into collaborations and sharing messages at the moment. I don't have any formal programs running at the moment, but I'm always available to, I have space for 1 or 2 openings for new one-on-ones. But the idea is to go more into some of the group work, because there's so much magic in the group where I'm not the only expert.
Yeah.
You know? So sometimes I'm busy with groups, and sometimes I'm more busy with one-on-ones. It just depends. Go back and forth.
Yeah, I've watched some of your collaborative videos with other coaches, and there was this particular video I remember watching wherein you were talking about bunkers in your houses in Israel. And that just blew my mind away. Wow, having a bunker inside our home.
Right. So that's so interesting that came up. I know this conversation with somebody in the States. So in the more modern homes, which is mine, it was built just over 20 years ago. That's considered modern. We all have what's called a secure room. Mine is my office. You visited me often in my office.
Yeah.
So it looks like any other room. But it does have a steel door on it, and no air conditioning vents, but it's got a fan, ceiling fan, whatever. So it looks like any other room. It could be a bedroom. It could be, I use it, as I say, for my office. And then for those who have older apartments or homes, there'll be a public shelter, bomb shelter. That's the reality of how we live here. So we don't really think about it. You know, especially, I suppose, the area I live in is a little bit of a bubble within Israel. It's kind of safer than some of the other areas, which again, perspective, right? Even it's a small country, my perspective is narrowed by where I live. So, but yeah, it's an interesting, I suppose, now that you brought it up, it could be a metaphor, right? Where do we feel safe? In our homes, I sometimes talk about trauma as being a room. Trauma is something that's frozen in time and space. It doesn't get updates. So that's why you react as if you were a 3-year-old. Sometimes you become reactive. I say to people, let me walk with you into that room that's dark, that hasn't been opened. Let's open it up, let the light in, let's dust it out, and let it become part of who you are, your inner home. But it's nice to have a safe place to go within you too, that you can rest.
Yeah, so true, so true. Also, in this moment, I'm feeling so inspired by what you are sharing with us today, Bev, because we know that there are so many stories that history has given us, the Holocaust and some of the most horrible things that happened. You carry some of those stories. And you just talked to us about the bunker and the safety. And yet you're somebody who makes that choice to love other people and yourself amidst these difficult circumstances. And you make that choice several times a day, every single day. And that is so beautiful to watch. That is so inspiring to participate in.
Right. Thank you. I think we all do. You know, I would love for you to tell me there's no hatred in London. You know, so I think we all make that choice again and again to connect if we can, rather than go off and be fragmented and sit with our trauma. The trauma symptom is that I sit in my corner and you don't come near. You know, but rather than the healing comes when we can connect.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So that is, I think you're right. I mean, I would imagine in your area, unfortunately, there are people who aren't open to conversation always. They're angry. They feel, maybe not in your specific neighborhood, but they feel unheard.
Yeah, I would say London is by and large a fairly safe place, but then again, that's relative, depending on where you come from and what your personal experiences have been. So it's a safe place, especially the area where we live. But I wish I could say that there is no hatred in the world. That would be fabulous.
I know. But then it's an opportunity for us, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
To get into conversation and see where can we cross our bridge? Where can I cross the bridge to your experience? Can I be curious rather than judgmental?
Can I be curious instead of being judgmental? That's where everything begins, doesn't it?
Yes, to take that pause and to just listen. You don't have to fill the space always with words, just to be together. So, yeah.
Like you say, dancing in the moment.
Dancing in the moment. Absolutely. It's all up, minute to minute updating. Streaming, data streaming. And and it's just about one of the things I try and do is set an intention at the beginning of the day. At the gym, we're always doing this movement. I can't open my hands fully. And I say to myself, take in all the goodness and what do you want to give out? Care, compassion, kindness. So I just set an intention for myself of how I want to show up in the world. And at the end of the day, I will do my gratitudes, but I'll revisit any difficult conversations I might have had and see not that person's to blame, but rather what was my contribution to this conversation, because we're always in it together.
Yeah.
There must have been something that I did as well that contributed to the unpleasantness or whatever. And what can I learn about myself? Not about them. You know, it's theirs. Whatever their stuff is their stuff, and my stuff is my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, taking that responsibility and going within and coming from a place of love, and knowing that we can make that choice.
Yes, exactly, because that's what responsibility is, the ability to respond. And that means I have to pause here, take in what you've said, become informed, and then respond. That is the mature adult, but we not all our parts are agreeing, always in agreement with the mature adult. We get triggered, and that's okay, because that is what makes us human.
Yeah.
You know, but to reach out to people like you who can help heal in so many different ways. And again, to whoever's listening, it's not about the letters behind a person's name. It's about picking up the phone and seeing, do I resonate with you? Do you resonate with me? Can we connect? That's all. People just want love and connection.
Yeah.
People want to feel heard. You know, we're drowning in contacts or in connections and all the likes. We're drowning in that, but we're starving for connection and recognition and love. Recognition, not from a place of ego, but from a place of, hello, do you see me? You know, I suppose that is an ego place, but it's not necessarily a negative thing. I just want to be heard.
Yeah.
And I can bring to the world what I need to bring, but that means I need to be settled.
Yeah. Beautiful. Bev, before we let you go, if you could share one big message with our audience, what would that be?
One big message. That's a beautiful question. Let me think. I think the message that I would love to share or offer is to invite each and every one of you to take pause and time with yourself every day, even if it's just 5 minutes, to just sit and reconnect and ask yourself, how would I like to show up in the world? Whatever comes up, don't be judgmental of it. Be kind, be compassionate. And just ask yourself, I'm here now. I'm taking these 5 minutes. What do I want to serve? Who do I want to serve? Who do I want to share compassion and kindness with? And just connect with yourself. you come from a place of love, then I think that would be my message.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bev, for this
Thank
beautiful
you.
message. And thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with us today.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure to be with you and speak to you. Thank you, Parul.
Thank you, Bev. It's been a pleasure.